Okay, in this video we're going to be doing simplifying fractions. Okay, so the three things we're going to learn is what simplest form is. Okay, it's important that you understand that because that's going to help you with simplifying fractions. And then we're going to look at two different methods of how we can actually do that. So the first method is using the HCF, and the second method is using repeated small division. So we'll understand what simplest form is first, and then we'll get into our methods of how we can actually simplify our fractions. So here on the board I've got two different examples. Okay, I've got two fractions which have the same value. They're both equivalent fractions, yet one is in simplest form. And that's obviously this one here. Even though they're both the same value, we get a better understanding of what 5 over 20 is when we put in simplest form, which means a quarter. We understand a quarter better than we would if we said 5 over 20. So it's important that we put that into simplest form. Now it's always done. If you're answering a question where you give a fraction, it's always important that you give the answer in simplest form. So the way that we do this, and I'll give you an example here, is we use cancelling. Okay, and I'll write this down here. Okay, we use cancelling to try and help you bring a difficult fraction down into simplest form. And the way we do that is by finding a highest common factor between two numbers. Okay, so it has to be the same factor that would be used with 5 and 20. Now I know that they both have 5 in common. Okay, so 5 divided by 5 equals 1. And this is where we do our cancelling. So you cancel that out. 5 divided by 5 equals 1. So you write that in just as a little number just next to the numerator. And then how many times does 5 go into 20? So we cancel out the 20, and that's going to go 4. So that gives us our answer of a quarter. And that's what we call cancelling. And that's basically using the HCF method. So the other one that we can do is using repeated small divisions. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put another fraction up. We're going to do both the HCF and the small divisions so we can get it into simplest form. Okay, so we've got two fractions here. They're the same fraction, and we're going to use the different methods to see how we can get simplest form based on these. So you can decide which one works best for you, and then we'll be able to go from there. So we're going to use method 1 here to find the simplest form of this fraction. And the way we do that is finding the highest common factor between the numerator and the denominator. So if you can go through, you can list possibly the factors. So we'll start with 24. So we've got 1, 2, we've got 4 and 6 there. Okay, we might just go 12 and we'll go 24. Okay, we might do 60 as well. So we might do 60, 2 and 30. I might just go 5 and 12. Okay, so we want to find the highest common factor between these two numbers. Now I can see here that the highest common factor between these two is 12. Okay, and then we simply just do our cancelling that we just did before. So you just have the same fraction, you cancel out the 24. How many times does 12 go into 24? It goes in twice. And we cancel out the 60. How many times does 12 go into 60? It goes 5 times. So what we have now is our simplest form, which is 2 over 5. So you can do the first method, which is using the highest common factor, list the factors, find the highest common one between them, and then use that to do your cancelling. Now the other way that we can do this is use method 2. Okay, method 2 is another way that you can just sort of break it down step by step, and that's using small divisions. And you want to sort of focus on dividing both of them by either a 2, a 3, or a 5, and work through until you get to the smallest one. So let's start with just 2. I know that they're both even numbers, so I can divide both of these by 2. Okay, how many times does 2 go into 24? 12. How many times does 2 go into 60? 30. So I now have a new fraction underneath. Now I can then continue to do small divisions to make it easier for me. I know again that they're even, so I can divide them both by 2 again, which will give me 6. Cancel out that, will give me 15. Okay, so now that I have an odd number and an even, I can't do 2 anymore. Let's see if 3 works. Now I know that 6 and 15, that works for both of them, for 3, sorry. So how many times does 3 go into 6? I'll write this fraction down here. How many times does 3 go into 6? Twice. How many times does 3 go into 15? 5 times. And that's my simplest form. Okay, so by using either method 1 or method 2, we can get a simplest form by breaking down a big fraction or a hard to understand fraction down into its simplest form. So the main things you need to make sure you're aware of: what is simplest form? Okay, it's the very basic, it's the most simple form or description of a fraction. You need to make sure you understand what cancelling is, or how we cancel that process, and you can choose whether to use method 1 or method 2 to help find you the simplest form and simplify those fractions. Thanks guys.